3 is concluded by Melody figuring out that Franklin killed her dad and shoots Franklin 3 times before leaving him for dead.
What it is, guys? It's your boy BlastphamousHD. Today we're here to check out a video called The Tragic Character Art of Franklin Saint in Snowfall Explained. Let's do this.
I built this shit. Me. Brick by brick. And I'll be damned if I let you tear it down just because you don't like the way another talk.
These are the type of scenes that makes us really appreciate and feel the intensity of the character of Franklin Saint. Snowfall is a crime drama TV series that follows the lives of multiple drug dealers, one of the main ones being Franklin Saint during the 1980s crack epidemic in Los Angeles. One of the most interesting parts of Franklin's character is his development from a young, naive college boy to the biggest
distributor of rock cocaine in the world. He's the one who convinced me he could do it.
Franklin's journey begins after returning from college after realizing that despite knowing he's destined for greatness and success, university just isn't for him, and believes and knows he is at a disadvantage due to his ethnicity and race. Season 1 shows that Franklin is very intelligent, naive, soft, possesses great critical thinking skills, and above all is extremely determined, and this ambitious nature of Franklin is shown when he met Harvey Draxler after trying to help his friend Rob get some cocaine for his family, as Franklin was willing to allow Harvey to shoot him with a bulletproof vest from range, which put Franklin's life in danger in exchange for Franklin being allowed to peddle kilos for Harvey, as Franklin knew working at Cho's and helping sell weed for his uncle Jerome was not enough to make the money he wanted, and this once again shows Franklin's determination to make money, and this undying determination and multiple trials and tests he had to face is what leads to Franklin transforming into the ruthless, dark character we see in the later seasons. But we will come to that later. Once Franklin passed this test, he managed to find a buyer, Claudia, who owned a popular nightclub in LA.
And the thing that took Franklin down was his gullibility to the people that he cared about.
And Harvey began to take a liking to Franklin and continued to provide him with keys to sell. A big part of Franklin's development and change in the first seasons is the events that took place with Lenny, Ray Ray, and Carvel. Lenny and Ray Ray, after finding out that they were essentially being replaced by Franklin, jumped him and took all the money he was meant to give back to Harvey, leading to Leon helping him find and introduce him to guys he knew that could help. One of them being Carvel, who after torturing Lenny stole Franklin's money, once again showing the...
He didn't even tell you that the way they tortured the guy to have him tell to get the money, they prisoned him, bro. Like the one dude took him in the bathroom, bro, or the back room, tied him up and just prisoned him for like 5 hours, bro.
Naive trait of season 1 Franklin, and later showing that he was new to the game as he could not kill Carvel when needed, but was also a huge moment as this was Franklin's first time being involved in someone's death, which of course strengthens his mind and heart as he slowly realizes that this is normal in the cocaine game. After this, Franklin takes a break from peddling cocaine due to Carvel's death and trauma behind it, but after being proven correct that the system is rigged and against the prosperity of black Americans, sparks and activates the fire inside of Franklin to continue and goes back to RV to continue peddling keys for him. Business goes smooth for a while for Franklin and decides to make more and rolled up to the wrong neighborhood to pose a deal to Stomper, where he was nearly killed, and the aura and atmosphere Franklin gives off here is one of weakness, naivety, and clear lack of experience in the game. By the ending stages of season 1, Franklin is introduced to crack cocaine and how to make it through an individual known as Swim, and this is where Franklin's career as a drug dealer really begins to take off and gain some momentum, and made somewhat of a name for himself in LA. And with this increase in notoriety, his business also grows, and with this change in status and in his business also meant he had to make harder decisions, being the boss and the one trying to spearhead this new age of crack cocaine. One of the final decisions in season 1 Franklin had to make was killing Lenny after nearly killing Leon, as Franklin knew that Lenny was becoming bad for business and of course wanted revenge for what he did to Leon, and forced Ray Ray to kill Lenny. This establishes Franklin by the end of season 1 as someone who is capable of taking a life and making very difficult decisions. And Franklin is no longer soft and is much less naive and inexperienced than the beginning of season 1, which leads perfectly to the next part of Franklin's character arc.
You cannot be soft, man, doing that type of stuff. I tried it, I gave up, bro. I tried selling drugs, man, I gave up, bro. You know what I mean? I had my homeboy Jack me for my, not Jack,
Franklin's crack cocaine business is really starting to find its footing and starts to make some real money. And on top of this, just to emphasize how much Franklin's business has grown, we see for the first time in season 2 some form of security for what Franklin is doing, in the form of Peaches as a guard for the cookhouse. And in the first episode, after Leon gets caught and put into custody of Avi, Leon's bail is revealed to be $5,000, and Franklin acts as if it's not a lot of money to Tyrone to decrease the suspicion around his business. And this reveals a new trait of Franklin, which is his increased caution and vigilance, while simultaneously showcasing his intelligence compared to individuals such as Jerome, who did not think to do the same. But despite this, season 2 still had light-hearted and genuine moments of joy that Franklin experienced, which is key to pin when explaining and looking closer at Franklin's character arc, as later on this is certainly not the case. Franklin's development in season 2 involves events that take place with him, Teddy, and most importantly, Kevin. Franklin and Teddy's first interaction was in season 2, and since Teddy is such an important character in Franklin's development, I feel it's important to mention their initial meeting. Teddy and Franklin's initial meet was far from friendly, and he was essentially imprisoned by Teddy along with Leon due to Teddy's suspicion of Leon possibly snitching, as he was able to get out of custody 24 hours later whilst Avi was still in. After Teddy got the answers he wanted, he intended to kill both Franklin and Leon as he had no further use for them. But Franklin is able to negotiate his way out of the situation by agreeing to 10 keys a week with Teddy, which once again highlights the already established trait of Franklin, which are his negotiation skills and of course his determination. After things smooth out with Teddy and Franklin, there's a scene that really shows the change in Franklin's mindset from season 1, and you could say he is almost completely unrecognizable in this scene.
I understand why you did what you did today. I do. From here on out, no games, no tricks, no bullshit. You be straight up with me, I'll be straight up with you. But if you ever fuck with me, or anybody that I care about, then it won't be good for you. You understand that?
And this now establishes Franklin as someone who is no longer naive in the slightest and can be viewed as much more dangerous and threatening. It is also important to notify Franklin's increasing ambition and determination to blow up his rock business further, highlighting the increased ambition and determination of Saint compared to season 1. The events that conspired between Kevin and Franklin were very complicated and frankly very sad, as Kevin's cousin Delroy was killed by a high-ranking Mexican in the cartel for selling on Pico Union, which Franklin already warned not to sell on. Kevin wanted revenge for his cousin, causing a divide between the group, and this got worse, like when Kevin took money from Franklin without asking. This then led to Kevin giving Franklin's rock cocaine formula to Lucia in exchange for the person who killed Delroy, and this act of betrayal would of course mean the end of Franklin and Kevin's relationship, as Kevin now knew that Franklin knew who Delroy's killer was all along, but of course Franklin did not want to tell Kevin to avoid an unwinnable war, leading to the ending stages of season 2, where Franklin had to make one of the most difficult decisions so far, which was shooting and killing Kevin, which opens up an entire new aspect to Franklin's character, as it was already established that Franklin was capable of making difficult decisions, such as killing Lenny and Carvel, who were his enemies that were in the way of his goals. But killing Kevin shows that Franklin is willing to risk the lives of one of his close friends for the sake of the business. And some would say that this is the early signs of Franklin's obsession with the business. After being caught, For killing Kevin, Franklin is sent to jail, and the events that happen in jail once again strengthen him as a person and exposes him to how harsh and brutal the cocaine life can really be. But he is shortly released and figures out the biggest revelation in the finale of season 2, which was the fact that Teddy was really working for the government and was funding a war illegally and using Franklin to do this.
I don't think Mr. Reed Thompson's just some drug dealer. I think he works for the government. And now, well, I think we work for him.
Damn. I gotta go back and rewatch this whole thing. I've only seen like the first 5 or 6 episodes of Snowfall and then the last 2 seasons. But I'm gonna go back.
Season 3 of Snowfall, in my opinion, is just after the inciting incident in a narrative story arc, and I believe it is essentially the start of the rising action in the narrative. But you can apply this to each season separately, as well as it does apply to season 1, 2 and 3 separately. Franklin by season 3 is completely unrecognizable in the way he acts and his psychological state, as after experiencing prison and killing his own friend, he is no longer innocent. And by season 3, I believe Franklin is pretty much a fully fledged drug lord, as he gets the attention and respect of rival gangs such as the Bloods and the Crompton Crips. And throughout season 3, we see the more ruthless, egotistical and self-centered side of Franklin, exemplified by Franklin not really caring about the damage The Rock does to the community when speaking with Andre, and later killing Andre due to him becoming bad for business, as Andre was on Franklin's tail and said himself he wouldn't stop until he had caught him. Franklin being able to kill Andre, the father of Melody, who he had a romantic relationship with, once again shows he isn't afraid to kill anyone who jeopardizes the business, no matter who they are. And this highlights Franklin's lack of empathy, suggesting by season 3 he is slowly starting to drift away from his previous common and regular human traits, which can all be traced back to his obsession with the business and making money, as in season 3 he expands his rock business and deals with Manboy, and also expands to Inglewood to Scully, which reinforces the idea that Franklin clearly has an unhealthy obsession with this business. However, Franklin by this point is not a complete monster, as even after killing Andre he showed visible signs of pain and sadness, as he did not want to kill him and even gave him an alternative to leave town with Melody. However, season 3 is concluded by Melody figuring out that Franklin killed her dad and shoots Franklin 3 times before leaving him for dead.
Oh, I remember that part.
Season 4 Snowfall, in my opinion, is where we start to see the internal cracks in Franklin's business, as in season 4 we see Leon wanting to go on a different path to Franklin, and Louis and Jerome becoming more ambitious and wanting to expand, and not to mention issues to do with Alton, Franklin and Teddy, as Alton had essentially snitched to Irene, an ambitious news reporter who was set on exposing Teddy's operation. But we also see external problems, such as the gang war between Manboy and Scully, who both eventually side together after Leon killed Scully's daughter, who was also Manboy's niece, and all these events contribute to the shift in Franklin's character and psychological state. And during the gang war, Franklin sides with Manboy whilst manipulating and setting up Scully, which shows a new trait of Franklin, which is his manipulative nature, which we see many times from this point on, as Franklin tends to manipulate and control others to achieve his goals, suggesting that Franklin is a control freak and feels the need to constantly be in power and control of others. Another instance of this can be seen when he tries to manipulate Leon into staying with him when Leon already decided he no longer wanted to do things Franklin's way. But after finding out Leon had killed Scully's daughter, it wouldn't be surprising for Franklin to give up Leon to Manboy and Scully in exchange for keeping the business safe. But Franklin doesn't do this, suggesting that Franklin is not quite a complete monster and remains loyal to Leon and those who have stuck with him from the very beginning despite their issues, and manages to take out Manboy and Khadija whilst also basically turning Scully religious, once again showing Franklin's superior intelligence and why he is the GOAT. However, another key event that takes place is the issue with Franklin Alton and Teddy, as after Alton snitched to the news reporter Irene, who Teddy easily took care of, Teddy was ready to do the same to Alton, and this put Franklin in a difficult position, as he cannot exert the same control on Teddy as he does to others, which shows a shift in the power balance, and we see how this becomes a problem later on in season 5 and season 6. And since Teddy essentially is Franklin's boss, we see that Franklin can't really do anything but negotiate with Teddy, but in the end Franklin is able to stop Teddy from trying to kill Alton right then and there, and they come to an agreement to send Alton and Sissy to Cuba. But due to the leak by Irene and Alton, Teddy is released from the CIA and is no longer in charge of the operation, and due to this he goes to Cuba and kills Alton without Franklin knowing.
Which he should have done a long time ago. His dad was a real piece of crap. He needed to die immediately. Like in the first season or something. I can't have people like that around me, bro. I cannot stand them type of dudes, bro. There's a way to tell that type of dude, but I'm not gonna tell y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Season 5 and season 6 of Snowfall are the most important seasons in the entire show, as I believe it really epitomizes most of, or some may even say all of, Franklin's bad traits that he has acquired over the course of the show, and some that he already had from the very beginning, and also gives us clear moments of how Franklin's initial positive traits have slowly faded and disappeared. And I believe 3 of Franklin's biggest flaws at this stage are his pride, greed, and wrath, or you could say anger. And we will really delve into the examples mainly in season 6, but season 5 does have a few examples of these. By season 5 there's a bit of a time skip, and Franklin is working with a new CIA officer, Grady, who was underachieving, leading to Teddy returning and Franklin having to work with Teddy once again despite knowing he killed Alton, which once again highlights that very important power gap between the two.
You mind?
It's your world, man. I just sell dope in it.
But it is also key to mention that Franklin did have thoughts/intentions of leaving the drug business, as he now had a kid on the way with his girlfriend Veronique, and he also partly legitimizes his wealth and earnings by running a real estate business along with the crack business. But we see things start to fall apart for Franklin slowly, as Louis and Jerome want to fully break away from Franklin and do their own thing, as well as Leon also backing out from working under Franklin and wanting to improve the projects, not to mention the death of Rob, who Franklin killed due to the fact that Rob was on cocaine and couldn't be trusted anymore. This is a prime example of Franklin's brutality, and this goes back to Franklin losing his old positive traits such as empathy and loyalty, as Rob was one of Franklin's earliest friends and partners in the crack business and could have easily set him up to rehabilitate like Wanda, but instead heartlessly kills him. However, I would actually say that in season 5 we were seeing Franklin actually becoming more aware of the damage he's done and how many people he has hurt, and becomes much more empathetic and understanding of others, as during Jerome and Louis' wedding the chocolate fountain was laced with acid and everyone was completely tripped out at the wedding, including Franklin, and starts talking to what I believe are his regrets personified into a version of himself. And this was a huge wake-up call to Franklin, but shortly after, Franklin was hit with very bad news, which was that Louis had gone behind his back to deal directly with Teddy, which harmed Franklin's business greatly. But surprisingly, despite this obviously hurting Franklin's pride, he actually makes the right decision to back out from the business and quit, as he had already made millions, and taking into account Veronique and his unborn child, this was the correct decision by Franklin in my opinion, and tells Teddy, solidifying his decision. However, Franklin was completely blindsided by what Teddy did to him next, which was completely stripping him from $73 million, making him completely broke in the process. Franklin has now been betrayed by Louis, Jerome, and Teddy, and with the overwhelming anger Franklin is feeling, none of them would be expecting the hell that Franklin was about to rain down upon them.
73 million? Damn! His mom was the worst one.
Why did you take my fucking money?
It's not your fucking money! My cocaine, and it's me.
You shouldn't have done it in the first place. That was his mistake.
After being completely cleaned out by Teddy, Season 6 starts off with Franklin robbing Louis and Jerome and stealing around $3 million from them, which Franklin says he did to just buy some time, which may be true, but this decision by Franklin actually caused the death of multiple individuals and even one of his bodyguards, Black Diamond. And this shows once again that Franklin does not really care about who has to die to get what he deems to be his. Franklin stole from Louis and Jerome, who are family members who have been with him since Season 1 in the crack business, revealing just how deep Franklin's pride and greed goes, as Franklin believes stealing from Louis and Jerome is completely fine, as he believes that they would never be in possession of such money without him, which is a stark contrast to Season 1 Franklin, who would not even think about doing such a thing to his own family. A very key part of Franklin's character at this stage is that Franklin will always pick money over anything, including his friends and family. He even sold out Louis to Kane due to how angry he was at Louis for breaking away and dealing directly with Teddy and refusing to give him money when he was broke, showing how much pride and greed has taken over Franklin's mind. Franklin's wrath and brutality is also shown on multiple occasions in Season 6, as Franklin was able to kill Teddy's father with no hesitation for the sake of his money. And if we compare this to Season 1 or 2 Franklin, we see just how far Franklin has fallen and how far he strayed away from his morals, as Franklin was not even able to kill a guilty man, Carvel, in Season 1, but in Season 6 is able to kill an innocent man, once again showing that Franklin is used to killing and does not seem to be shocked by it anymore. In the later stages of Season 6, Franklin manages to get Teddy hostage thanks to the help of Gustavo, and proceeds to torture Teddy to get his money back. But Teddy and Franklin's conversations whilst in the basement gives us an insight on how Franklin views himself and his actions, as he believes his experiences have shaped him and has even admitted to Veronique that he is a monster. And I agree with what Franklin says, as being betrayed by Louis, Jerome, Leon, Teddy, and later Veronique and Sissy contributes to Franklin's downfall. But ultimately, what leads to Franklin's downfall is money. Money is such a powerful item in society, as it quite literally determines everything, such as who wins wars, the hierarchy in society, your quality of life, your opportunities, and the list goes on. This is what Franklin has been chasing for 6 seasons. Money is what gives Franklin purpose, and what he had to do to get this $73 million is nothing short of pure evil. And knowing this, Franklin is willing to do anything to even get half of it back, which is exactly what he and Teddy agreed upon until the last hope of Franklin ever receiving his money dies right in front of him, and with this breeds new hatred towards Sissy, his own mother. We see that Franklin hating his mother is once again a complete contrast to Season 1, where Franklin completely loved his mother and started doing this for his family. But we see now that money has completely taken over Franklin's mind and he's completely lost sight of his goal. Franklin later went to Leon for help, but was refused by his own best friend, and Leon saw what Franklin's obsession with money was doing to him and how it was destroying his life. And just to add to Franklin's suffering, Veronique had fled with the last $800k Franklin had with his unborn child, as Veronique had realized that Franklin was so obsessed with this money that he lost sight of why he wanted it.
The only reason why she was with him was because he was a high-ranking drug dealer with large amounts of money. And the minute he ran out of it, she left with whatever he had left
back in the first place, and left Franklin broke and alone. Franklin began the show with nothing and ultimately ended with even less.
You're my best friend. Best friend I ever fucking had.
Yeah, he should have moved to a different state and started a different business. I would not have chose drugs. I tried when I was younger. It was not my forte. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. It's your boy BlastphamousHD. Twisms.